Vibes. Thanks so much, Tay. Good morning, everyone. What a beautiful day, and what a beautiful picture. It's me, if you can't tell. And now I'm going to show you this picture with a bunch of pieces missing. Today I'm going to talk to you about a topic, one that's very important to me, a topic that I think has the power to make this picture a reality, or at least feel this way, out of place, not whole, and essentially as if there are some pieces missing. And that topic is comparison. Comparison stole some of my pieces for a very long time, but as you can see, I'm standing here today, all in one piece, feeling pretty whole. So I'm going to take you all on a little journey, and hopefully by the end of it, I can help at least one or two of you get your pieces back and help make your head a beautiful place to live. I feel it's important to maybe start with some of the facts behind comparison, why there is a psychological need to do it, why it's almost a part of human nature to do it. If you Google comparison, you're met with definitions that pretty much explain it exactly as it is, considering the similarities and differences between two things or individuals, which takes a lot of the emotion out of it all. But a theory was introduced in 1954, known as the social comparison theory by psychologist Leon Festinger. And he goes on to explain that us humans have a natural and instinctive drive to assess and judge ourselves against other humans. He goes further to say that it's actually the only way that us as people know who we are, by assessing our skills, abilities, and weaknesses against others. Quite a scary thought if you actually sit and think about it. We know who we are because of other people. But Paige, you may ask, what damage can this really do? And I'm so glad you asked. We can start by looking at it over the years, how comparison has changed. It isn't only present in statements such as, he's smarter than me, let me study harder, or she's skinnier than me, let me exercise more. Comparison has pretty much existed since the beginning of time, not just 1954, and through major events that you probably haven't even considered. The Industrial Revolution had humans and society not wanted to be better, compared themselves and the way in which machines worked faster, harder, and with a lot less complaining than humans. Putting a man on the moon, America had to be number one as they compared themselves to the technological advancements of Russia. War, my country's bigger and stronger and more powerful compared to yours. And the threat of nuclear destruction in the 80s, when the USSR and USA compared the amount of missiles that they each had. I don't know how many of you here took history, but comparison in a simple form quite literally almost brought the world to an end. If that doesn't highlight the power and the threat that it can play in your life and in your mind, then this talk is going to suck, and I'm sorry. Okay, in all seriousness, we know that thinking your hair isn't as long and shiny as Becky's is not going to bring us to the brink of nuclear destruction. So let's take it back a notch. Look at comparison today in the 21st century. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Social media. Likes, comments, shares, followers, funny captions. Everyone here knows about the damage and the threat of social media. I mean, I sat through at least 10 assemblies on it. Yet it's still the first place where everyone goes when they seek approval and acceptance from others. Scrolling for hours past beautiful people with beautiful bodies and beautiful food who get hundreds of likes on everything they post. It really is a dangerous place, and the easiest way to compare yourself to others, and where you want them to compare themselves to you. So this sparked a lot of interest. As I said, I relate to this topic quite a lot, as I've seen firsthand the damage it can do when you're constantly comparing yourself to others. But when researching, everywhere I looked, and why we do it, how to make it stop, all I could see was social media. Delete Instagram, unfollow people who don't feed your soul, all of that nonsense. Social media, social media, social media. Gen Z, the youth, kids on these phones these days, am I right, everyone? Wrong. Because guess what, ladies, gentlemen, and those who are neither? Standards of comparison have been set since before the youth, us, the social media freaks, were even born. We were raised this way. At 1 year old, I didn't compare myself to Becky because she could walk and I couldn't. My best friend was not put on Ritalin in grade 1 because she noticed that she learned a bit differently compared to the other kids in the class. These statements mean no harm, and they aren't trying to shift the blame, and I think that's the point. I'm not here to tell you why we compare ourselves to others or how to stop, because we won't, ever. It's human nature, as I said before. Instead, the main point of this talk is how to be happier with where you are right now. A year and a half ago, we were in deep lockdown. I was in Plet, and I wasn't able to get home to Joburg. I hadn't seen my family in almost 2 months, and I felt very sorry for myself. This was probably also at the height of my dirty dance with comparison and where I felt my lowest. I watched people on social media every day, running 5 kilometers in their tiny gardens, making banana bread and fermenting pineapple into beer, basically doing the opposite of what I was doing, which was watching them and all 9 of the Fast and Furious movies, but mainly met them and their lives through my screen. And I felt crap, and I think a lot of us did actually. It was such a weird time. It felt like, for once, the entire world was in the same boat. Locked down, wearing masks, missing out on life. And yet, there were still people doing it bloody better than some of us. Before lectures started back up online, Cyril basically handed us more free time. And some of us sat there with the audacity to think we were spending it incorrectly. I got to a point really where I was being a bit mean to myself, thinking that other people were making the most of COVID, learning skills, bettering their lives. And it got to a point where I was disappointed, angry, who knows what. So do you know what I did about these people bettering their lives? I let them and I continued to watch. But it is where the penny dropped. If there's anything that COVID has taught us, it's that life is short, it's really weird, and quite literally changes overnight. I got to a place where I realized that I'm the one who spends the most amount of time in my own head. So surely I should make it a beautiful place to be. Everyone has a different story with comparison, and maybe some of you haven't read your own story yet. But I'm here to tell you my top 3 tips that you can hold on to ensure that your head is the most beautiful place to live. To be happy with where you are right now, comparison and all. Number 1, you have to learn to recognize the voice of your inner critic. That negative, sometimes very mean voice that tells you when you can't do something, that points out your failures over other people's victories and tells you you're not enough. Often we don't even attempt our journey to self-improvement or set new goals because we feel that we're incapable. If you can learn to recognize that this isn't your true judgment, but it is that voice of your inner critic, it becomes a lot easier to stop, ignore it, and practice being a lot nicer to yourself. Number 2 is to be intentional. Be intentional with the things that you are putting effort into. If you can wake up every day knowing that every room you walk into, you're bringing your best and most positive intentions, it's a lot easier to be happy with where you are. Because when things are driven by your intention, they're driven by purpose. This means that everything you do, every relationship you make, and every goal you set is a part of your purpose. It's very difficult to stand back and think about the things you don't have then, because what you don't have clearly is not your intention. And last, but definitely not least, look, when you compare yourself to others and you see their achievements and you want, what they have, it's not necessarily bad. Being a bit envious every now and then is not necessarily bad. What is bad is when you associate those things with happiness. When I have that body, then I'll be happy. When I'm in that relationship, then I'll be happy. When I get the promotion, then I'll be happy. If you continue to sit around in life waiting, you're missing out on the opportunity to see what could be making you that happy and feel that good about yourself right now. If everything that could make you happy and feel a sense of worth exists outside of you, you never will truly be happy because it can be taken away. We need to understand that just because someone has the dream car or the dream job, they are not the only people that can feel those feelings. There is not a limited resource of those feelings. There's an abundance, but it's up to you to take a step back and take notice of the ways they are already showing up in your life. And would you look at that? All of my pieces are back. Thank you.